And we're live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to apologize for the little bit of confusion that was before. It's Khalifa. I'm blaming it all on that shepherd. He accidentally started the live and didn't look at the time, and then we adjusted it, and I saw that a lot of people were coming here. It's very easy to laugh at someone when he's your friend and he's actually really a shepherd. For those of you who don't know, Khalifa is a Druze from Israel, and he's hosting the podcast Mered Khalifim, which is the rebellion of the Caliphate. It's easy. It's a cool name because his name is Khalifa, and that is the name of the podcast. And he's a very dear friend, and boy, there's so many news that I got to share with you guys. A lot of good news, very exciting, but also a lot of there's a long way to go. Me and Khalifa and Julia, another Druze lady that you may have seen her, and a Druze sheikh that you might have seen him as well, and many others have been working relentlessly day and night. I barely slept for a few days now, talking to people from Syria, from Israel, trying to help people. A lot of people that are panicking in Syria mostly, or families that are outside, having their loved ones there. But before we go, I want to say, first of all, the Druze have won the biggest major battle that came on Lisweda. Is an insane battle. The Bedouin tribes came on them, hoping to surprise them because many of their warriors were outside, stuck on the road, going to help the other brothers, and they saw the advantage, the chance to go and basically literally kidnap their women. There is a voice memo that was sent by several of the men of that village, of that town, warning other men, please don't leave your house unattended. Have someone stay with a weapon because the Bedouins here, the Muslim Bedouins in Syria, are walking house by house. They already kidnapped a few women, but we managed to retrieve them. So Syria have become the Mad Max of the Arab world, have become literally Book of Eli style. People are just walking there, raging, looting, just stealing, not necessarily because of the insult to the prophet, but more because it's a chance for them to go and hurt innocent people. Now, with that said and done, that battle, I think, ended up with having that's the numbers that I've heard. I heard between 500 to 1,000, so let's meet it up in the middle. About 700 casualties for the Bedouin forces and 0 casualties for the Druze. 0. That's insane. They literally went, and I don't know, maybe they ambushed them or they caught them and they fought. But that came when the Druze, and we were going through this live as we were, following a lot of our Druze friends there, praying for them. They were waiting for so long, hoping that Israel will come and intervene. And I will explain, in a few seconds also, because I don't think that people also understand how complicated it is to intervene that fast. But there came a moment when the two Druze kind of suburbs outside of Damascus, when they fell, Jaramana and Sahniya, when they fell to the hands of the jihadists, and there were still pockets of resistance that were refusing to surrender, and they were still fighting, the Druze in Sweden came in an announcement, and they said that the mashayikh, the sheikhs, came and said, we're on our own, guys. Salvation is not going to come from Israel. They're not going to come from anywhere. We have to take care of our own. And then the jihadists with the government came and sieged on their town and started demanding that they will hand out their weapons. They told them, we're giving you a certain ultimatum. We're going to go in. You're going to give us all your weapons. Meanwhile, circling around the Druze, towns were all these Toyotas and these, Mad Max Arab jihadist vehicles with jihadists sitting on them with ISIS flags, Al-Qaeda flags, and I don't know what. So let that sink in. The government in Syria is coming to a minority that has just been attacked, trying to survive, with everybody in this country wanting to come and basically butcher and kill them for a made-up, fabricated insult on the prophet. And even if one guy insulted him, that doesn't mean that everybody else should suffer. And then the government comes and side with the Al-Qaeda and the ISIS and demand that the minorities hand out their weapons. It reminds very much of the story of Khaybar. If people don't remember that story, I'm going to repeat it, although I said it many times in my podcast. You hear that slogan a lot. Haybar, Haybar, ya Yahud, Jesh Muhammad sa Yaoud. And what happened is, during the conquest of the Prophet Muhammad and his warlords, they came to a Jewish town by name of Haybar. I'm going to very shorten it up, so forgive me if I miss here the spot. And sieged the town. And then they fought for a few days, or I don't know how long. And then they offered them an alternative. If you surrender, we will come in and we'll have mercy on everybody and everything's going to be fine. The Jewish delegation went outside. The leader said, are you sure? We surrender. You're not going to touch our women, our men, etc. No, we're not. They surrendered. Surprise, surprise. They went, they killed the man, they kidnapped the women, and they made their daughters sex slaves. So when you hear radical Muslims or numbskull students in the West chanting Haybar, Haybar, ya Yahud, it's either they're complete jihadists and they mean what they're saying. They want to enslave the Jews and the Christians and everyone and take their daughters, or they're just, useful idiots on steroids. So they try this Haybar tactic on the Druze, and oh la la, here we go. Here we go.
Hey, good evening, Hebrews and Shibrus.
Good evening, Hebrews and Shibrus. I was just telling them that it's easy for me to blame it all on you because you're a shepherd. So just blame it on my shepherd friend.
Yeah. I had to take a break and go, do the shepherd stuff today with my daughter. We had a very intense week, as you know, and things escalated, and we had a very long days this week. So I had to take a break and just, be in nature a bit. And that did a very good quality time with my baby daughter.
Oh, man, you deserve it. So, Khalifa, I'm going to jump you right in so you can catch up. And actually, I want to hear what you have to say about it because I know you've been also in touch with a lot of people in Syria there. I was just telling the people in short the story of how the Druze ended up being sieged in Sweda. And then the government with the Bedouins and everyone started demanding that they surrender and put down their weapons. And that's where I stopped. That's when you came. Do you mind catching it from here and giving us some of the exciting news and some of the concerning news that we're having today?
Yeah, so let's put it in context. So basically, yesterday we had the first evening of fights in Sweda after the clashes were basically in Damascus region where the Druze people are hugely outnumbered and they are in a huge disadvantage compared to the Sunni jihadist ISIS ideology moved people. And the thing is that basically even the local Bedouins from the Dara region, I know it's a little bit complicated for people who don't really picture the map of Syria. Maybe we have it here. Maybe I can put it over. Yeah, okay. So here it is. This is the dark. There's another map here. So the orange one is Sweda, the province that we are speaking of. There are two places mainly that were basically in Damascus, which is like too small comparatively small to the region neighborhoods, Druze neighborhoods called Germana and Sahnaya. And everybody remembers that Prime Minister Netanyahu basically said and declared that and warned the Syrian government to attack the Druze people before. I think it was on February, if I'm not mistaken, because tension had been rising ever since the fall of Bashar al-Assad regime. And yesterday, the Druze people of Sweda were basically preparing for the fight of the ISIS fighters to come and occupy the Sweda region, which is the largest concentration of Druze in the whole entire world, place that we think and we discuss here in our podcast as should be the national home of the Druze nationality, basically. So, and until that point, the Israeli IDF did not interfere. Like they didn't do anything because they basically, let's admit it, in Damascus they were very limited and they couldn't. Like you see the small green spot in Damascus. That's the place that we are talking about. Those two neighborhoods, and the IDF couldn't basically do anything in this regard, but in Sweda province last night, the Druze people, I talked to them all day long, and you can see from going from despair and waiting for, like, there were nerve-wracking moments for these people and for me as well. We are waiting for the Israeli state to stand for the word that the prime minister basically gave, and we are all waiting. Even sorry, in my Telegram channel, we put a map and we said there's large concentration of jihadists in these areas. We need to bomb them. The situation is very hard and things look very bad. And the Druze were ambushed and they are outgunned and they were in the dire straits, basically.
Yeah, no joke, guys. Like literally, we were getting information from our Druze friends in Syria that were telling us this road and this road. Me and Khalifa were in a talk with a sheikh that I think was under siege while he was talking with us, and the connection got lost a few times. And he told us literally, listen, we're fighting here in the streets. If they come here, he was a very smart guy. He was not just emotional, very smart, solid leader who's a spiritual leader, but also a warrior. And he said, we're fighting in the streets. Our guys are strong. We just need more ammunition. If you bring your airplanes, you're going to hurt us, hurt them, hurt civilians. What you can help is literally, that's the roads. And he was taking notes, and Khalifa was finding it on the map, and I was writing it down. And we started putting it out there. That's the road that we need to attack. That's the places that you need to go. It was insane. It was as if we were back in the army, I think, the two of us right now, but from far away. As frustrating as it was, we wanted to be there fighting with our brothers, and protecting them, but we felt that we have to do the minimum. So sorry for cutting in. I just had to add that.
No, that you put it beautifully, because that describes the emotional state that we've been to. Because speaking with the people, and we had rumors, and we had all kinds of news coming in that there's a massacre going, and we don't know what is the scale of the massacre. We know that German and Sahnaya, those people fought for 48 hours until they ran out of ammunition, and then the jihadists just went through in, and we learned that women being captivated, and we imagined and we got some audio records, messages, WhatsApp messages from Syria. Elderly men, sheikhs, and people are crying from the news. And when the Druze people tried to come down from the mountain to Damascus for the rescue and the help of their brothers, they've been ambushed, and 48 people died in this ambush, and it was like nerve-wracking. And and for me, I had I needed to take a break and contemplate on the whole thing. And I think before I talked to Julia, I had this epiphany. I said, okay, man, you've been too much emotionally invested in what's going on. But my advantage being here in Israel, the advantage that I have is because people need to know that our frustration, the Druze in Israel here, that none of the media even spoke about it. Like the only main channel for news about those things were two of us working day and night, trying to speak to people, trying to send videos, trying to communicate what's been going on. And we did it with everybody that just had the openness to hear and listen. And we felt that, that this is our time. We need to do anything. We felt like we want to go and break the borders and go fight with our friends. And the images that we got, it was really intense. And there's some people, Druze people from Israel that actually still fighting in Syria. People don't know that, but there are Druze fighting now. We've seen a picture of them eating lunch, like Israeli Druze in Syria, eating lunch with the Druze fighters in Syria, which is crazy what's going on.
Maybe to sharpen what you're saying, and guys, just like you said, and I want to thank everyone on this channel, really. I mean, you guys were the backbone, and so many people in Israel were with us. There was a time that I feel only me and you and maybe a few handful that were just talking about it again and again and again. It was not in the media. We're not hearing any official statements from the government. People are being slaughtered. They're waiting on the help from Israel. Armies are sieging on them. And I think the two of us separately went for maybe 3-4 interviews in different, media outlets all around the world in a day and a half. Yeah. I literally jumped from one call to another call. I call him, he's in the middle of a live interview here and there, just pushing for this, to bring this awareness. And then I saw so many comments from the people here on our YouTube. I talked to this guy, I shared this guy. And then the traveling Tal, he created a group and he added other influencers to that group. And they said, we got to start pushing for our brothers and Druze. And the feeling that I felt of how proud I am that I'm part of this nation, Israel, that I have these Jewish and Christian and Muslims and Druze friends and everyone in Israel, it was overwhelming. So many people came in. And the reason for that is because mainstream media did not want to talk about it. So we started pushing it.
And that was so frustrating because, you have us, the Druze, living our reality, which is October 7 event that we are going through. We're seeing October 7 going through the days, and we've seen it all along. Like, it's nothing new. It didn't came out of nowhere. And all the time we're trying to, to set the lines and try to tell the people of Israel, this is going on. And at the time we had those huge fires, like Israel was burning from like massive wildfires. And those wildfires for us, like saying, okay, man, we see a very complicated operation being held in Damascus. And it's coordinated with ISIS groups, with the General Security of Syria, with the Bedouins in Dar'a, and ambushing, and they have tanks and armed vehicles and
heavy machine guns,
heavy machine guns and drones and everything. Like, you need that you conclude that someone here is doing a very massive attack and it's very dangerous. And given that you have wildfires in Israel that is absolutely occupying the whole system, the whole media, the whole security, the IDF, everybody is like dealing with this while we having a national celebration day. And our Druze people are being slaughtered, all this happening at once. And we're trying to say, hey, nobody sees the connection between what's going on. Maybe there is a connection. And if yes, this is a question that we need to ask ourselves. And if yes, that means a real bad news for Israel. And we need to address that. Nobody was talking about it. And we felt so angry. Come on, like, are you seeing what's going on? And we've been tested. Our love and connection, Druze and Jews, is being tested right now, and nobody cares. But we got hundreds of calls, of WhatsApp, of emails. The Jewish people embraced us in such a beautiful way, trying to push politicians, media, and then you could see the ripple effect of our spaces that we done, our live videos, our shows. Everybody was saying, how come nobody's talking about it? And everybody shared it. And for us, for me, like I told you, I have this moment that I said, we must keep doing what we are doing, but we have the how do you say it? We have the privilege of thinking clearly, and now what we need to do is a media campaign. We must put this on the spotlight, and happily we did it. And last night, this early morning, we started the day with the great news that the IDF actually bombed the Julani presidential place. And good news just kept coming, and we realized to know that the Druze actually pushed the attackers, and none of the Druze fighters were injured at all. And the ISIS groups being killed with the hundreds, with large numbers. I guess it's tens of the attackers been dead before they moved back.
Hundreds to 500 to 1,000. I still kind of don't know the number.
No. But the thing is that mysterious attacks in noon, I guess around 2 p.m. Mysterious drone attacks that nobody took responsibility of took place in Sweden. But now picture like the morals are high. The Druze know that they can defend themselves, so that they're self-confident. There's still bad news about the Druze in Damascus. The situation there is still very sensitive, and like if the ISIS group people will feel that they've been pushed, they might try to retaliate with those guys, knowing that they are the easiest target. But you can see how the Christians, like I've seen now the feedback on the media from Iraq, from Syria, from the Christians, from the Kurds, everybody are celebrating what's going on with the Druze. And everybody's saying now, I just posted the Druze, a video from a Christian Syrians saying, thank you, the IDF, you are our brothers, the Jews are brothers, we are all brothers against terror. And that's the great awakening happening. It's beautiful.
Let me answer some of the questions that were asked here, because it was asked in Arabic and in Hebrew as well. Were there any women kidnapped? So I just got an audio recording from a relative of mine in Syria, and like a minute later from my mother as well, and I'm sure you got it as well, where there's a Druze man that is warning other Druze people in Sweden, and I think anywhere, and he's telling them, guys, be careful. While our men went outside to battle and went to fight and rescue other people for the Druze that are in need, the Bedouins are coming and kidnapping our women. And he said that there were 3 women at least that were kidnapped. I'm sure there's more. And I think he mentioned that they managed to retrieve a few of them. But what's happening there is terrible. They basically they made a fatwa, religious fatwa, that is allowed to go and kill the Druze. And they made it, if you don't understand, in the Muslim world, when someone religious, they're bloodthirsty. There's so many bloodthirsty savages there that are just looking for an excuse to go and kill people and kidnap and take young girls. It's a very perverted society in that area of the world, at least in Syria. Not all of them, but a lot. So they used that excuse when the men were outside, and they went and tried to go and take their women. But that actually happened in Israel way, way ago. On the Kippur War, My mother remembered that story very well. When all the men in the village of Mghar, I don't know if it happened also in Dad al-Kamel, could be, but in Mghar there was more, Muslim presence there. The men went to war to fight with the rest of Israel to defend this country. And while they were at war, everybody thought in the Kippur War that Israel is going to collapse. And that's it. There's not going to be any more Israel. There was really thinking there's going to be from the river to the sea. And there was a lot of exhilaration in the Muslim street in Israel, which is very sad, but it kind of reminds us what happened with the Bedouins right now in Syria. They thought they were their allies. They were being helped. And then the chance they had, the Druze men were out for the war. They went and betrayed them and tried to kill them and steal and take their own thing. So the Muslims men in the village of my mother started walking and dividing the houses and saying, you take Mahassan's house, you take Salman's house, you have 2 daughters here, you have 3 daughters here. And they were literally, and my mom remembered that because she was there as a little girl with her mother, and they were standing by the door with legit, the shotgun that they put 2 bullets and click, click by the door, waiting to see if anyone tries to come in their house and, kidnap the daughters as they were trying. Unfortunately for them, Israel won that war, and the Druze men came back to their village. And since then, this never happened again. We just leave it that way. But that is what's happening in Syria right now, only on steroids. And if the Druze people will fall down, and that's what I was starting to say in the beginning, when they were demanding from the Druze, we went to sleep, kind of around the same time, if we did, me and Khalifa. And the last thing we heard was that the Druze city of Sueda was being sieged, and that the government is sieging them, and basically calling them terrorists and demanding that they surrender their weapons while the government is standing there with all of the ISIS and Al-Qaeda people behind them. And I remember we were talking about it. Oh boy, if the Druze will feel desperate enough, because they were alone. They realized Israel is not coming to help, at least back then. No one is helping them. And I said, if they will do that, that will be the biggest mistake that they've done for generations. They would have lost completely the right to defend themselves against the government and against anyone, and they will be just slaughtered. We woke up to the news that they actually decided to go for all-out war, the Druze, and they said, we're going to fight.
More to that. There's more to that. They actually, now we can say that they try to how do you say, to activate, some people that somehow adhere to the Giuliani new regime. So they basically try to push the inner, how do you say, the inner consciousness of the Druze community in Sueda, try to convince them that we should, like they had made it to seem like it's a local thing. But
they tried to divide and conquer. They were trying
Exactly.
to get the traitors among the Druze. Someone was asking here now, who is more famous, Bal'ous or Sheikh? شو اسم الشيخ هناك?
Al-Hijri. That's
Al-Hijri.
exactly. So Bal'ous now, he's been covered. He's been, for the longest time, he's been suspicious because his father was a great hero. But since a while, there's been some rumors about him that there's something fishy. And now, at this moment, him trying to convince the people to say, okay, let's just surrender and give them our guns, that made the whole thing just exposed. So now there's a huge thing in Syria,
Yeah.
but to give it, like Bal'ous has no real power compared to Hikmat al-Hijri, although Hikmat al-Hijri is not a politician. He's just a reminder. He's a religious figure, okay?
If people remember the movie Braveheart, at least in the film, maybe not exactly the history itself, but you had, Robert the Bruce, who came from a kind of the royal family, and you have William Wallace, and Robert the Bruce kind of betrayed him and sold him. And also when you watch the movie 300 or Sparta, when the man was fighting out there, you had these people in the Senate that were trying to convince that we need to surrender. And they were very brave when all the men were out there in the war. So that's kind of this Game of Thrones, Sparta,
the same
Braveheart story that was going in Syria right now with someone who's like a from a family of a hero, and he's a politician, well-regarded, Bal'ous, and he's trying to come and basically make the Druze accept a very deadly deal. And people think that he's connected to John Blatt in Syria, in Lebanon. Lots of drama was happening, guys. I think to jump now a little bit to where we are right now. So the war, like Khalifa said, the war airplanes flying over Syria and the war areas that were being bombed quite intensively. Israel did not take responsibility. But, you know, last time I checked, the Druze in Syria didn't really have any fighter jets or something more sophisticated than a DJI Mini. So I kind of think, you know, let's leave it that way. There was some kind of an Air Force intervening there. There was Druze in Israel that were getting ready to literally mobilize themselves in a military way and go. If some of you don't remember, but Israel had, before it got dismantled and absorbed in the rest of the army, Israel had a Druze brigade, which was called Dud Cherev, which was mainly Druze soldiers and Druze commanders and officers. And in general, the Druze people in Israel have assimilated very, very well in the military and defense system. You know, they reached very high ranks. So almost every Druze that you meet in the street was probably either a combat soldier, someone from special forces, or at least did some kind of military service. So there were some talks of going in. The Druze in Syria stood strong, fought, and won one of the first waves of attacks that were coming at them. But this is not remotely the end. This is not remotely the end. And I want to ask Khalifa here because he brought something to my attention. And the more that I thought about it, the more that I thought that this is probably it. Khalifa thinks, and correct me here, that a lot of these attacks came in direct consequences because the Druze sheikhs from Syria came to celebrate in Israel with their families and religious sheikhs from Israel. And it kind of now it started to sink in. You remember when October 7th started? One of the reasons that it actually started was because they wanted to foil the Abraham Accords. You know, the radicals in the Middle East saw that there's a potential here for something great to happen, for unity between Arabs and Jews, for unities between countries that, you know, everybody wants them to be enemies, but they might actually start an alliance. And then they said, we got to stop this. So they started October 7th. That was one of the reasons, in hope that Israel will retaliate and everything will go to hell and, you know, a lot of dead babies. And, you know, please subscribe to my channel. I'm a poor Gaza and look at me holding like this baby in the air just to have a GoFundMe. And you know, all these images. I don't want to laugh, you know, at any dead people that died in that war. Not absolutely not. But you know, there's a lot of fake emotional propaganda that came out of Gaza, and they were playing on that. They wanted to see that dead to stop the Abraham Accords from happening, and they almost succeeded. And I feel, and you can share your thoughts about this, Khalifa, that when they saw the Druze coming to Israel from Syria and where they're going, they said, we got to stop this. So they made an excuse. What do you think?
Well, that's exactly it. But you know, first of all, the thing is, it's not just Druze and Sunnis, and like it's true, but basically you have two ideologies now that they can't coexist on the same country in this regard. Syria, of course. So, like we had Israel and October 7 Gaza, you have two ideologies that absolutely can't coexist. You need to have a clear winner in this case, because one says that the other shouldn't exist. If the other wins, the other shouldn't exist. They can't live side by side. So basically, that's first. Second of all, the whole atmosphere, like in order to know what's happening in any given street, in any given Arabic country, you need to hear the mosques. And now, giving the internet, basically the social media, we saw what's going on in mosques in Dar, and basically everything was leading to this point. And in the perspective of the Arab Sunni Islamist, it's black or white way of thinking of life. So for them, seeing Druze people coming to Israel, that's like a betrayal. That's like saying, we want you dead. Although it's a religious pilgrimage, people came to see their families, but somehow in the Islamist point of view, that shouldn't be. That's like something, like that's a sin that it's beyond imagination, that a relative, a kin, will meet another kin. Like,
but Khalifa, I think that the common, folk, Muslim people will think that way because they're sinners, they're traitors, they hate us, they should be on our side, even though they're persecuting the Druze. But I think the Arab elite, if you can call them that way, the more sinister people that are there, actually more for the money and the power and not so much for the religion, I think it's the most terrifying thing in their eyes that to see Jews and Arabs living in peace together. Because that hurts their agenda to make the Jews look like they're monsters. And they've been telling Syrians for many, many years that Jews are monsters. A lot of my Druze relatives from Syria, before this war especially, used to call me here and there and tell me, like, are you guys happy in Israel? Are you guys, is it really like, we all hear that you guys are being used, that they abuse you, that you're like slaves and this and that you're terrified. And every time we'll tell them how happy we are, you hear in the phone, they're like, Jeremy, like, we've been hearing so many propaganda against Israel. So suddenly having Syrians break free, coming to Israel, and hear how good and beautiful when brethren dwell together, I think that terrifies a lot of the Arab leadership, because that's going to take the rug under their feet, because that might start making the West, maybe the useful idiots even will wake up and start saying, actually, Israel is the solution for the Middle East. Look at the Druze and the Jews. They're the greatest example. Look how well they live together.
Yeah, well, there's a saying that says that if you're a hammer, then you see the whole world as nails. And what I'm trying to say here is, if you have a certain ideology that you see your world in it, then you will see that what's common between all the people, all the haters of Israel, and all the lovers of Israel in this region, that the haters will be in the boycott
movement.
But not movement, but state of mind. Because they've been, their mind was shaped in a form that there's certain places in their minds that they can't go to, like speaking to Jews, thinking of them as humans, like anything beyond the borders is something that it's like a black hole. You shouldn't, that's haram, that's the forbidden places. And this is why you will see movements that are trying to boycott the KFC, Palestinians saying, like, why KFC in Ramallah is opening, we should boycott them, and boycott Pepsi and Coca-Cola, which is the stupidest state of mind to be in the first place. Like, if you boycott anything that Israel will do, you will not use the phone, you will not use the internet, you will not, like, you will need to be a nomad, to live in nowhere in order to not participate in anything that somehow contributes to the Jews. That's a sad fact for them. So it's a stupid way of thinking in the first place. And this is exactly what we are trying to do, me and you, because in order to win them, or in order to conquer them, or to defeat them, we need to build bridges, because they want always to cut bridges and, to try to control everything and try to put the Jews as something evil and bad and, something like that. And once you question that and you live, this is why us Jews are so dangerous for the whole, this Islamist thing, because Islamists made it like a common sense thing to know that Jews are no humans. The Arabic anti-Semitism is so real, and it's so malevolent, and it's so vicious. So basically, we as Jews, by saying, you know what, we live with the Jews and we love them and we love being with them, and that's beautiful, and you should try it as well. That just puts the rug underneath their legs.
It scares the falafel out of them. There were a few very interesting comments here that I want to address, and I will go to your question, Laura Blackman, in a second. I just want to refer to what Gayuratu said. I'm a Syrian. Bashar al-Assad killed half of my family. The Alawites and Druze were food soldiers to Bashar al-Assad. To those of you who don't understand what that means, one of the reasons that I helped a relative of mine flee from Syria, because while there was a civil war in Syria, Bashar al-Assad basically killed 500,000 of his people, mostly women and children among them, and the world didn't care. And he had mass graves of hundreds of thousands of people dead. He used to go to Druze villages, and he would force the men to come and join his army so they can go and kill the other Syrians. Now, the Druze didn't want to do that. But what happened is, they will send you once or twice. If you don't go, they'll come and take you by force. And he told me that out of all of his generation, his age group, imagine you're living in a small town, and you have, let's say, 4,000 people that are in your age group. He said that more than 80% of them didn't come back. He said, took them, and what happened is they will take them to join the Nusra, the government, whoever comes and kidnap them to come and join their army. And because you're a Druze, they will use you as a sniper detector or mine finder. You're the Druze, you go first. And they will laugh, you know. And then you go, you get shot. Okay, let's not go there. And they'll make sure that they have a few Druze in their units, and that's how they were using them. So many of the Druze started fleeing. Many men started fleeing the country because there was either getting killed by the government, by ISIS, by the Nusra. So the situation in Syria was just insane during the times of Assad, and now even maybe some would say even worse. Now I want to go to the question here, and I think that's a very good question.
Let me just say something about that.
Please.
Because I find it always very challenging to explain how non-state Syria is. So there's a great movie, if I remember, his name is Ciudad de Dios, or City of God, about the favelas in Brazil with the gangsters and like really criminal thing. So take that, add to that Captagon, drugs, terror, put that in steroids for 15 years, and then you try to imagine that in large scale. Like, I mean, you know, huge suicide bombers, bombing, what, like real nasty things. That's Syria. That thing is still there, you know, because the Jews, after the fall of Bashar al-Assad, everybody were exhilarated, you know, it was a huge party. Now we can sense some sense of freedom. People that never, for like the longest time, didn't go to Damascus, went and see it, and you could see it starting from December. As time goes by, you will see how it became so dangerous to the Druze, and every time it's escalated, not only for the Druze, for the Christians, for the Alawites, of course, for the Kurds, for everybody. It really escalated. You know, we feel the Druze because we talk to them all day long. So I had a friend that had to go to a procedure in the hospital, and he tells me how a Druze woman now going to take her chemotherapy and had to hear from the nurse saying, Druze, so no shots for you today. Sorry, no shots for Druze. You're traitors. Go for Israel, take your therapy. And this is the kind of things that they needed. This is your national hospital, okay? You will see that someone will fabricate a movie, and then all the universities, you know, this is the education system of Syria, are holding demonstrations and saying, we're gonna slaughter any Druze, and you'll see everybody is so cheerful and happy and saying Allahu Akbar and Allahu Akbar, like they're contributing such beautiful things to the world, and like they're so lost in their darkness and their evil and their vicious being. I don't judge that, but this is the reality, and people need to see that. And in order to see that, and in order for them to see that, because they are in a complete dark, those people they lost shape or form for being human beings. They just figure of human being. They're not humans. Those people that, you know, like if you go to any university, no matter what, you can't hold a demonstration here in Israel taking a knife and say, okay, we're gonna slaughter anyone. You'll go to jail, because this is a common knowledge, common sense, that we don't just go and threat slaughtering random people for just being Druze or being Jews or being whatever that is. So in order to put that to stop, we need to stop that and say that we need to fight. We need to just teach them in the hardest way that this is wrong, and we can't in any way, shape, or form yield to that or agree to that. So fuck off. That's it.
Yeah, man, 100%. Sorry, I'm still learning this program, so I accidentally cut the video into your face while you were talking. But Laura Black Moon, thank you so much for this super thanks, and thank you many people that actually gave super thanks here. I really appreciate that.
Nice done, Laura. Oh,
yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, she asked, and please tell us how can we help. And I think we have great news that Khalifa was personally involved in making this happen with some of the mashayikh, some of the sheikhs in Israel. So we're going to give you now one very practical option that you can help. I'll add also, I created now a GoFundMe. I'm still trying to create it. And what I want to do is anyone that will give to that, I want to direct it to these people that you're going to see right now, because these are trustworthy sources in Israel that we know that are going to be working under the government supervision and under the religious supervision and accountability of the community. So it's not just a random person you're sending money to, but we're going to have you listen to what they have to say now, and then you can understand which ways you can help. How do I do this? Aha.
שלום לכל החברים בקבוצת מרד החליפים. אנחנו האנשים בירכא הממונים על בית התפילה. לאור המצב של אחינו בסוריה והטבח שהם עוברים מצד אנשים קיצוניים ורדיקליים, עוברים הרבה דברים קשים מאוד, גברים ונשים, זקנים, בנים ובנות, הדברים מסתבכים והולכים למבוי סתום. אנחנו בכפר ירכא, באמצעות בית התפילה, באמצעות כל הקהילה בירכא, ובחסות כבוד ראש העדה, השייח' מואפק טריף, מקיימים תרומות לאחינו הדרוזים בסוריה, ובמיוחד לנשים, לילדים, לבנות שאיבדו את האבא של המשפחה. אנחנו מבקשים מכם, כי אנחנו ברית חיים, אנחנו בני יתרו, אנחנו אחים בחיים, מבקשים שתעזרו לנו, תעזרו ליתומים, תעזרו לנשים שאיבדו את הבעלים שלהם, מבקשים תרומות כספיות דרך בית התפילה באמצעות הקבוצה הנדיבה שלכם, ואנחנו באמצעות המנהיגים שלנו ובחסות המדינה מעבירים את התרומות לאחינו בסוריה לאן שצריך להגיע. אני מודה לכם מקרב לב ומקווה שברית החיים תימשך לאורך כל הימים. תודה רבה מכל לב. תחיה מדינת ישראל.
You're muted. You're muted.
I said I love the two guys in the end, you know, the one to hey Medina Israel, and the other guy, yeah, he knows. But you know what, guys, these are the people of Yarka, and the more I hear about Yarka, the more I'm impressed by Yarka. You know, Yarka were the ones that just send these girls that send the satellite into space. When my mom arranged the march for peace and unity and returning the hostages and, you know, awareness for the Druze religion in the Jewish city of Eilat, Yarka sent their football team of kids to come down with a sign of we believe in sport and no to violence, yes to sport. Beautiful village with beautiful people. And now they're having this initiative where they're going to start collecting donations to bring supplies. Now, to help you understand, and let's show you the map here. How do I do this? Remove this.
Let me just say something, because
Yes.
I've been people have been asking me for the longest time how we can help. So, you know, it's a very complicated and sensitive situation for us, you know, as regular citizens. We can't transfer anything to Syria. You know, it's an enemy state, and we don't even supposed to have any connection with this state. Like, if we, you know, that this is a dangerous thing to do in the first place. So in order for us to actually mobilize money and do it legitimately and by the books, as we can say, we had to have the blessing of Sheikh Muwaffaq Tarif and Sheikh Wazir Amun have been working from the last week, all week, to try to actually make this happen. And what I want to say thank you to those beautiful men. You know, it needs such humbleness to ask for money and ask for help. You know, this is, we people, especially men, are very ego driven, and that's a very hard thing to do. And that's very beautiful thing. That's very sincere thing, because they see and feel, and they actually did it in no time. And now we have a bank that goes to the religious leadership that can transfer the money, and we know that's going to go to the Druze people. So everything is been assured and well played.
Mm-hmm.
We need to develop this further, you know, to do all kinds of things. But basically, to people who listen to this or maybe can't even transfer money or things like that, do packages. It's a war zone. They will need anything from medical supplies, from even blood donations, all kinds of things that a battle zone would need. Food, supplies, connection with Jordan. If you have any political influence on Jordan, to try to help us in this thing, because we, the same people, the southern countries of this region, Israel and Jordan as well, long live the King of Abdullah, we need their help to actually try to help the Druze to make them sustain. As I said, things are very sensitive yet. And,
as you guys can see, sorry. As you guys can see on the map, so you have the green part up in the north there that is close to the extension of where Israel took some parts of the Golan Heights. Now, under the Israeli protection right now, there's a few Druze villages there, which are safe places, and that's why there's a lot of people that are running from Damascus right now to there to seek shelter under the Israeli IDF. And then you have the Druze in the south, and that's why Khalifa mentioned Jordan, how important Jordan is, because it's very hard for us to get aid from Israel to go to it's very easy for us to get it to the Druze villages through Majd al-Shams, and we're not going to disclose too much information, but it's very easy to get it to them, and then they can dispatch it among them. But like I said, it's a Mad Max land. The moment you get out of the gates of your community, you're into these sandstorms of jihadists and Allah Akbar Intifada revolution, guys, and nothing can assure you that you're going to make it safe. So it's very hard not to get ambushed on the way and sniped out. So the Druze who are being sieged right now in Sweda, one of the only ways they can get supplies is from the south, as you can see here, from Jordan. So if anyone here have connections in Jordan and have some kind of an influence, or in general, just by sharing these videos, guys, and amplifying the voice of everyone right now who's talking about the Druze in Syria, it's going to bring it up to the media, because just like we started, said the media is not talking about it, we're going to bring it up. And the moment that we start talking about it enough, and I got invited to a few podcasts, Khalifa got invited, and suddenly, the people started talking, and then suddenly media companies will see, oh, what's happening? Everybody's listening to these guys, not to us. Maybe it's interesting enough. Let's talk about it. So by amplifying the voice, you might actually be able to help to bring some aid to the Druze who are literally being suffocated there because everybody around them hates them and trying to kill them. Regarding that donation that these Druze sheikhs are opening, and the whole idea there is to use that money, just like Khalifa said, mostly to bring supplies. supplies in any. So if you even have supplies, you can try to contact the people in Majd al-Shams and ask them, listen, guys, I'm not talking if you have a bag with a few diapers. You know, that's very nice, but probably you're not going to get someone coming out of his house and meet you in the streets to grab a few diapers unless you go there and you put them yourself in a box, you know. But if you have, let's say, a little bit more that you can actually, you can call someone from Majd al-Shams and say, listen, guys, I have a truck or a car full of toys for children, clothes for children, medication, food supplies, farming supplies, farming tools. People in Syria are farmers. Farming tools, blankets, first aid, construction materials, and stuff like that. Tents, doesn't matter what. You can try to bring it there. Not you can try, you can bring it there, and they're going to try most likely to take it into Syria and give it to the people. Or you can donate directly to these sheikhs. And like I said, you can contact me or Khalifa and we can help you how to reach it. And they are in direct talks. For example, I just had a Syrian Druze friend from the US that have still relatives in Sakhnia. And he told me that 40 families fled to the area of the border of Israel. And he said they have nothing on them. He says, can you please help reach them out? So there is many families and people that are just running. And just like in October 7, my sister is a social worker in the city of Eilat. And she was running and managing some program in the city. And when October 7 happened, she was the first one to receive buses of women and children and elderly men. And she said, I saw kids with clothes that had, you know, smell of fire on them and without their parents. So I saw mothers without their kids. I saw just people that came with their pajamas. They had nothing on them. They ran away and fled the war on October 7th. They had nothing on them. And they welcomed them to the hotels. Now, luckily, Eilat have many hotels and have a lot of infrastructure. So we're able to create several hotels and put them all there. And my sister lived with them for half a year. I was getting the inside stories of what was going on with the families of the hostages, of the kidnapped, et cetera, because my sister was literally the social worker that was dealing with them. How beautiful that is that a Druze social worker was the one that was caring so much for the Jewish people in their dire moments. But anyway, the people who fled in Syria right now are probably having nothing on them, some of them. Maybe some of them were lucky enough to pack some stuff, but many of them, you know, and in general, they were living already in very dire situation. So any donation, any contribution can help. And what me and Khalifa are doing here is trying to give you that link to a trustworthy way to support. Because every time that I hear about a war or a conflict, and then I hear about, you know, sending donations, I used to work in Africa with some friends to build an orphanage, and we saw how easily people manipulate good intentions, and then you send money and it disappears. We saw with our own eyes, and we saw it in Gaza on steroids. So that's why we want to try to give you guys this direct, you know, trustworthy connection here. And that's these guys there, and they're under the supervision of the government, and they're under the supervision of the community. So that is, at least, you know, I'm not them, but from my feeling, at least that is a good way to help and support. And I know some people here are looking and interesting, how can we help and support? That's one way. Other ways, like we said, through social media and many other ways. But I see Khalifa, you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean, we need to put something here about the economic state of this province. It's not like this place was, you know, an economical haven in the past years. So anti-civilized, what do you call it? Like it was part of the system of the Syrian regime to try to suffocate this region out of resources, out of money. So basically 97% of the almost 1 million Druze living now and fighting on their houses are under any under the poverty standards in any forms, like people living from $200, $300 a month. Okay, so the situation there is no good. They are lacking from fuel, electricity. Now the government is controlling the electricity, and they're cutting off the electricity power from like the power lines from Sweden, the internet, anything that could help keep this place sustainable is what we are in a desperate need right now. This is why we're actually trying to recruit money in order, because we know how much food, because people now depending on their houses, so the no economy is not functioning at all. So they need our support, and this is what we can help. Like we can afford it. Few bucks, like if you send $10 to Syria, that could be food for a family for a whole day or for a whole week. I don't really know the numbers, but if your family lives from $300, so $10 is a huge amount for them. So even small amounts could do a huge difference, and this is our time. And again, as you said, we need to try to pay it forward, to just share the word and let the people speak about it. And the more we speak about it, the more people, you should see the effect of what the effect of the fight last night, the battle last night, on other minorities in the region. That's really amazing. Like if you go now to TikTok, which is like #1 social media platform in the Arab world, you will see so many reactions to the Druze being like those brave heroes, and now being a portal to the Western world through Israel. This is how people see it, because you know, a lot of people being terrorized by Islamists that they didn't allow them even to think of having decent, normal life. And now people are trying to feel the sense of it. And that's really addictive, one might say, because you should go to the social media and see the effects. So this is a fight that we can't lose. This is a fight that we, like everybody, we're fighting for the Druze existence, because they can't coexist with those guys. As I said, it's either way.
Khalifa, we're coming close to 1 hour, so I want to start maybe getting close to wrap it up. I've seen a question that repeated itself a few times. I don't know if maybe you want to take the lead on answering it. And they were asking, do the Druze believe in Muhammad, the prophet? Do you want to take that one, or should I take that one?
Well, it depends how let me just say, me and you are no religious, so no matter what, although I yesterday declared jihad on the jihadists, because it's funny, my name is Khalifa, okay? I'm the Caliph, and I'm the leader of the rebellion of the Caliphate. So yesterday they pissed me off, and I said, I declared jihad on those bastards, and we will win, and we will kill them. And the very next day, the IDF Air Force just bombs the places that I put on my Telegram channel. That's like, I couldn't be more satisfied than that. That's like the best moment of my life, probably. No, I'm just kidding. But the thing is, so we're not religious, and anything we answer, it has no value at all. But I say, it depends. Like if you are a Muslim and you swear to Muhammad and you respect me, like I have friends, Muslim friends, and I will proudly say that if they are Muslims, I'm a Muslim as them, because by behavior they show me how it could be a good Muslim. So for me, I respect their prophet, I respect their religion, as long as they don't try to force it on me. Okay, so that's the first. Second, as far as I know, no Muhammad is no prophet for us Jews because we are not Muslims. But like we said, we started the whole conversation saying that the whole thing started with a pilgrimage of the Jewish people coming to our holiest site, which is Jethro. So I don't really know if Muhammad has like as a prophet. Like I know he has some spiritual degree in some sort because we Druze acknowledge the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran. We believe that they are all holy. We holy, but we just have our own interpretation for them. So I'm not really sure if Muhammad is a prophet or holy for us, because I know that our holiest is Jethro, that the Jewish people from Syria came to a pilgrimage in there, not in Mecca, not in Medina, not in any sites that Muhammad been to. And as far I talked to a lot of Jews, nobody said, "Oh, I must go and do Hajj." We're not Muslims. We should say that, and that's it. So,
yeah. No. We're the Druze. We're not Muslims. I am a secular, and I studied histories, and my answer, just like Khalifa said, might not reflect the majority of the Druze. Definitely not the religious. They might have a different answer than mine. But the way I see it is, Druze is the biggest lost opportunity for Islam to become a better religion than himself. The Druze started under Islam, and they came with an idea, and they had a da'wah. They went and invited the Islam to adapt this way. And that idea was basically New Age religion, which comes and says, we respect everyone. As long as you live in peace, every religion have some spirituality in it and some guidance to become a better person, to come closer to God. And we, the Druze, we combine it all together, and we think that's a great idea. So the Druze offered Islam a way out to become a much better religion, if you ask me. Because imagine if all Islam would have evolved to become Druze, we'll have literally zero terrorism in the world, literally zero, sex, child marriage, and we'll have literally, it'll just become a better world. Literally, like the world will become a better place like that in a second. Now, they went and they offered that offer to Islam, and then Islam in the beginning was a little bit interested in it. They played with the idea, okay, let's see. They were talking a lot about, different kind of sects and, philosophies about it. That was in the times where Islam was still kind of open for ideas. And then they asked him a very important question. Wait, you guys believe in reincarnation? Said, yeah, we adapted also some of the, Hinduism, Buddhism kind of aspects, and we think that everybody have a different. And then they asked him, wait, so can there be a prophet after Muhammad? And the Jews said, of course there is. Prophets, by the definition of prophets, that's what I'm interpreting back then. It was basically people that came and had some kind of an understanding of the divine, understanding of the world, and they came to teach the people. And it could have been, it doesn't have to be a burning bush. It could have been someone in his dream or someone that read so much the scriptures, came with an idea, and he was able to prophesy something, and something happened. That's a definition of a prophet that is not a full prophet. So the Druze came and said, yeah, it could be. If God chooses to send another prophet in a different generation to come and teach us or guide us to somewhere, that can happen. And in that moment, Islam said, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and Muhammad, he is the seal of the prophets. You guys are infidels. We need to kill you. Allahu Akbar. And started, and they lost their opportunity to become a much more peaceful religion, if you ask me. Now, just imagine when you watch like Game of Thrones, or you watch, TV series that have a lot of behind the stage backstabbing. Imagine if there was someone there that could have pushed that narrative and maybe would have got the Druze to become a more official kind of religion of Islam. What a different world. And maybe someone got assassinated in the last moment or pushed out of a window. I don't know what. Completely. And now the Druze were persecuted since then. So maybe the people that came and brought the best idea to Islam, hey guys, listen, let's stop hating everyone. We can accept everyone. We can live our own way, keep our own Arab tradition. We can love the Christians, love the Jews, love the Hindus, doesn't matter what. If they would have taken that, would have been in a very different world nowadays. So I think that the Druze is, by definition, the evolution of how Islam could have been, but they chose a different path.
I need to add to that, you know, because I'm not religious, so the religion, my religion is basically has no place in my life. I can't read in the scripts, I can't, but the way I learned about this fact that Muhammad is not our prophet is by what happened in the massacre in the Druze by ISIS back in 2018. They did an October 7 style rave of their evil, what they know to how to what to do, their evil killing. So one of the fighters of ISIS, he had a GoPro, and there's long footage of them preparing and doing the massacre and all kinds of things. And at one point, I realized that because they went to places that they know nobody, so they didn't want to kill Muslims, they just wanted to kill Jews. And in order to know who is Jews, they came to someone and said, "Who's your prophet?" No Jews said Muhammad. Like they tried to somehow maneuver or, you know, not answer the question, but nobody said Muhammad, basically. So this is how people slaughtered, but not by not believing in whatever, being not fit to those Islamist.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that undoubtedly the Druze, their prophet is not Muhammad. You know, our prophet is Jethro, and we don't follow Muhammad. It's not our religion. Someone just wrote here that as per the telegram, there was an attack in Hama in Syria. And we're trying to give you guys live update, and someone said that it was right now. And did you hear about this, Khalifa?
No, I've been here all along. I didn't check my telegram.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but Hama is far from the Druze region. It's north of Damascus.
Yeah. To the answer of Chuck Norris, Gun Club. No, Druze is not Islam. Druze came out of Islam, but it's not Islam. It's a completely different religion. They have some very Arabic elements to them. And in some ways, the way of life can be resembled, you know, many Muslims around the world in terms of food, you know, hospitality, culture, etc., but there's also a lot of difference. You know, it's like heaven and earth. In some aspects, the Druze sometimes feel are closer to the Jews in many of their behavior and mentality and philosophy towards life than to many of the Muslims around. But you know, that might vary, and people might think differently about that. Khalifa, is there anything else that you would like to share with everyone here before?
Love you all. Thank you for your time. That's the most important thing. And, you know, being open to learn and hear. I just want to say a disclaimer, small disclaimer. All the news in Syria, and I try to emphasize the no state that this state is being in, because there's contradicting always, and there's manipulation in media. And what we are trying to do together is try to cross information both from the media and asking people on the ground, because you know there's a lot of misinformation going on, and it's always a challenge. But luckily for us, we know people on the ground, and we ask them, and we try to take evidence of what's going on. So for now, Jeremiah and what's happening in Damascus, there's a huge unclarity about it. There's a lot of disinformation. There's counter narratives, but we cross fingers and hope that they are safe. There were some reports of, you know, kidnapping and you know, things like that, but we didn't witness them. So everything is based on half rumors and things like that. But Syria is Syria, and we will keep you updated. So thank you so much. I can't say that enough, because being here with us is so important. And this is the only thing. This is us trying to be engaged in this conflict and try to expose what we think, how we articulate our way of thinking, and try to share it with you, to try and make the sane people of the world come and fight for life, fight for love for one another, with all our differences. So thank you so much. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Khalifa. I'm going to quickly answer some questions that popped here. No, Druze do not see the Christians the same like Sunnis see them. Druze love the Christians, welcome them. If you come to, they're actually very fascinated by the story of Jesus, the Messiah, and everything about it. They even call him Sayyid al-Masih. Some people here were asking about how can they still donate and contribute. I'm still working and opening some kind of a GoFundMe. I'm, a boomer, so I'm still kind of struggling. It says it needs some, day or two to approve it. Khalifa, if you will have the link directly to these guys, maybe you can share it either in your Telegram channel or here. I don't have the link yet. I know that the initiative started. Just like Khalifa said, everything here is going on the go, and we're running, with it step by step. I've been dealing today with like 5 things at the same time, trying to make order in all of it. So we're going to try to give you that link as soon as possible. I'm going to leave it, once it's up there, I'm going to leave it on my description of my Instagram and YouTube so you can find it. Thank you so much, guys. Really, in these darkest moments, we felt that we had so many people backing us up and standing with us. Jews, Christians, Arabs, Muslims, the people who love peace and who love life. And I'm very happy and proud to be on the side of peace and love and the right side of history. And what did I want to say? There was something important that I wanted to share. I kind of forgot.
That happens to me all the time. But I saw that you wrote Bani Maruf down underneath your name. That's a funny touch. I liked it.
It took you like maybe 3 weeks to realize it, but it's been there for 3 weeks. I was waiting for you to notice it. Yeah. I was waiting for you to notice the Bani
Oh
Maruf.
my God. Nice. Because I remember you had a special forces thing. Now I see it. Okay.
No, I put the special forces thing when I do my regular YouTubes because that's one of the main focus of my channel. But now I'm very, very focused on the Druze in Syria and what's happening. So that's why I chose to put that there. So that's what I wanted to say. And, although we brought some maybe a little bit more positive note to this episode, guys and girls, it doesn't mean that the war in Syria is even close to be over on the Druze. Not even close. This is literally like the rejoicing of surviving one day in this zombie apocalypse that is called Syria right now. You survive one day, the night is done, the day is over, you hear the birds, you eat some laban, it's like, whew, the night is going to come again. And the creatures of the night are going to come and try again to take over the Druze because they didn't stop. And they need our help, they need our support, they need our awareness. It should not be forgotten under the rugs and under the books of history and, in the algorithm of social media. And if we don't help push it up, it's not going to be pushed up because we're not seeing, mainstream media talking about it enough. They will start talking about it once we bring it to the table. And I care, even though I'm an Israeli, I care for the Druze in Syria. I care for the Christians in Syria. I care for the Alawites, the innocent ones. I care for any innocent human on the face of this planet. And I really hope that we'll start putting our time to focus on bringing awareness to the wrongdoings that is happening to them rather than, do duck face to the camera and do TikTok dances or support pro-Palestine and support the bad guys. That's even like a next level of stupidity. So please don't forget, guys, keep us in your prayers. And we're going to be doing, more and more of these lives. I'm going to try to do one every day. Unless I will just collapse, from tiredness and fall asleep, then forgive me then. But we'll keep you guys updated. Thank you so much for the people of Israel. תודה רבה לממשלת ישראל, לעם ישראל, אנחנו אוהבים אתכם. אתם העם שלנו. And thank you for everyone here that came. We appreciate so much. I have the greatest, coolest community. I think me and Khalifa, we had this amazing family that was created online. I never thought that I'll be a YouTuber. Or having a podcast, never thought. You know, me
Yeah.
and you, I spent most of my days in the desert. Literally, as a teenager and as an adult, I'm a desert person. I'm a level 40 desert ranger.
I'm a shepherd, man.
You're a shepherd. We're both like people of the land. You know, I'm learning now about how to do a live and how to start, you know, streaming. And
You
how
know, one of the funniest thing, I get it all the time. People thinking that the rebellion of the caliphates, it's like a battalion of people doing all kind of stuff. They don't know that I do it, but nobody pays me for that. Like that's a bit like I'm truly obsessed about this thing. I've been talking for 2 years about the Druze. Sometimes I didn't have money to pay my internet. I had to cut off interviews because I had some things because I couldn't care less about worldly things except talking and speaking and exploring and learning about the Druze. I got this bug, and now see how beautiful community we have.
yeah,
We're
man,
speaking. We have 500 people with us right now. I
that's
wouldn't
insane.
imagine that in a million years. Like
That's
amazing.
insane. That's insane, man. I know your struggle because I had days when I left my job and I started doing this. And after a year of doing that and not getting paid a penny, and everything was going from my own pocket, everything, rent, food, I don't know what. I was driving with my kid on a bike by the river here, and there was ducks and I don't know what. And he told me, Alba, can we have ice cream? And that was the first time that I thought, I don't know if I should buy him an ice cream. Maybe I can make him one at home because I will save €3. You know, I never thought to come to that point, but that is the life of people who put themselves out there to try to bring you full-time content, full-time media. There's no way to break in, because if you start getting sponsored from the beginning, then you have people who will tell you what to say. You know, so when you find sponsor people that you like their channel, like their content, especially when they're small, it's important to understand that every like, every subscribe, every share, every super like will help them to actually gain some financial stability so they can continue to do what is that. And once the channel grow, you can actually start supporting yourself more, because then you'll start having, you know, sponsors that will come that you can pick. That's the thing. When someone is hungry, you'll pick anyone. Like, you know, someone will tell you, I'm having a shaving cream company. Can you talk about my shaving creams? Like, okay, I'll do it. You know, I literally have nothing. Or you just say no. Like I said no to anyone because I said I don't want, you know. But then when you become big enough, you can start actually choosing, you know what, I really like this topic. And, you know, so to my point, it's a journey, and I completely understand, Khalifa, when we were talking, kind of went sideways here. We were talking about we never thought there would be YouTubers. Never. Although talking to young people, it's one of the most prestige job dreams for kids. You ask kids today or teenagers, what do you want to be? I want to be a YouTuber. And then I'm like, I'm a YouTuber. Hello. Boomer. Pepper spray me. Get away from me. Like, ah. So anyway, we went a bit sideways here. But
Yeah.
thank you so much,
Amazing
guys.
journey. Amazing journey, I must say.
Amazing. And it's just the beginning of it. It's just the beginning.
Mhm.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit the button, do the whole shebang, guys. Thank you so much. And in general, just don't do anything stupid. And like I always say, don't do anything that I would do. And I feel quite safely to tell you, don't do anything that Khalifa does, because I feel like he's shovav like me and does a lot of stupid things, and but somehow managed to find his way out of them. So
Guilty as charged, Your Honor.
stay safe, guys, and have a wonderful weekend.
Bye bye, everybody.